Welcome, everyone. Delighted to have you join us as we dive into today's topic, generative AI, and how that is transforming medtech service support. This is a space that has huge potential, and today we'll explore what that future could look like. Let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Dr. Rennie Thomas. I lead global data and AI for Lifesciences at Genpact. I have over 20 years, I spent over 20 years in the healthcare life sciences industry. My focus has been on driving data and AI transformations that improve patient outcomes and reduce cost of care. I'm passionate about using data, technology, and clinical insights to create meaningful impact across the healthcare ecosystem. I'm also a wanderlust at heart, hiker on weekends, and a proud mom to plants, humans, and dogs. So, from mountain paths to data roadmaps, I'm all about unlocking hidden value. Nice to meet all of you and excited for the discussion we'll have today.
Thanks, Rennie, and thank you, Monty, you as well, for this opportunity and AdvaMed, right? Hello, audience. This is Harpreet. I'm joining you all from New Jersey. I am data and AI growth leader for pharma and medtech at Genpact. And over the past 15 years or so, I have a chance to work closely with a lot of clients and to drive their AI and data-led transformations. Bringing in technologies like generative AI and now agentic AI to simplify some of those complex processes and deliver real and measurable outcomes. Outside of work, I'm a bit of the antiquarian, which is just a fancy way of saying that I collect rare old first edition books and historic newspapers. And my collection includes the original prints from the events like Pearl Harbor, bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, moon landing, JFK's assassination, and few more, right? And yes, I have one wife and two boys, not mixing up the numbers, right? So really, really excited to be here, and really, really excited to present this topic, which is very close to Rennie and my heart. Let's quickly move on to agenda now. And thank you again, because we're all busy and you are taking your time out of your busy schedules. Really, thank you. Here's how we have planned this session for you. We'll be starting with setting up the context, looking at the key trends and how the medtech support landscape has evolved. From there, we will move on to the opportunity to explore, how we can reimagine the technical support itself. We will also dive into the core Gen AI capabilities and accelerators, what this technology can do today, how it fits into our support journey, and where it will, where it'll all be already be delivering real impact. And the really exciting part is the success outcomes. We need to understand, for some of the things that we have done, clients have done, how does success looks like, right? And we'll wrap it up with art of the possible here, not just for Gen AI and technical support, but in overall how the advanced technologies, including agentic AI, can come together to make this seamless for the entire ecosystem of aftermarket technical support services. We have also set up some time at the end for the Q&A. So we will go along. As we go along, we'll feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We'll pick them during the closing segment, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can as the time permits. So now, yeah. So let's look at the bigger picture here, right? What's really shaping technical services space? While the fundamentals remain the same, it's about driving the revenue, it's about reducing the cost, and it's about managing the risk. But the expectations here are really rising fast, for the service leaders. Today's service leaders, they're not just managing break-fix operations anymore. They're really not. So what they're doing, they must balance the expectations for instrument uptime, for patient safety, with the cost of delivering swift and effective technical support. And here, Annie, I know you are a well-established leader in life sciences and medtech space, and I would like to hear your perspective on, what are the key trends here. And I know there's a lot on this slide, but what, according to you, are those top 2, 3 trends that you see a lot?
Yeah, and before I go there, Monty, do you want to pull up the poll question quickly before I go to some of the trends? Maybe just to get some responses on. So just what are the top challenges? Before I go and kind of give you my perspective, what are y'all seeing in the medtech industry in terms of top challenges? Is it poor predictive maintenance? Is it slow adoption of Gen AI? Is there a lack of data democratization you're seeing because of which businesses cannot build their AI systems? So what is it that we're seeing typically? Okay. I think this is all of this actually, right? Lack of democratization is a huge thing, right? How do you enable business users to use AI, to use insights, right? And that's a little bit of what we will go through as we kind of go through this. It is democratization. This is a great example of democratization. We'll also touch upon the adoption of Gen AI, right? How do you drive adoption and what it means to enable adoption, right? And of course we are going to talk about what is predictive maintenance and how some of the companies are getting on that journey. And of course, talent is a big piece of this whole equation as well. So I think I think this is really good. But let's like Harpreet was saying, let's talk about what are some of the trends, right, that we are really seeing. So firstly, we are seeing service strategies getting a seat at the C-suite table. More and more organizations are treating technical services as a profit center and not as a cost center. For example, I think it was GE Healthcare post-COVID, they reported service revenue contributing significantly to their operating margins, which was very unlike in the past, right? The second big trend that we're seeing is that products are no longer simple machines. They're really complex systems. Where integration of hardware and software, the connectivity, the data that resides within these machines, all of that is very complex. That means troubleshooting is complex too, and troubleshooting is now a multidisciplinary sort of effort. If you think of it, there are machines that are the size of a double-decker bus. Like, there are some of these lab automation systems that are really complex, and they're huge, right? These huge systems have multiple parts ranging from hardware and software, mechanical, electrical. And these complex machines are often the center hub for an entire county or a hospital or a lab. And replacements of these of the parts here, and anything goes wrong with these machines, it's not really easy. And if these machines are not repaired in a few hours, the impact on patient care can be huge, right? So think of the size of the problem we are talking about. The third big trend, right? The medtech service delivery model itself has gone through a significant evolution, right? It was reactive in the past. The service teams used to support break fixes, but now it's moved to more proactive, predictive, and outcome based. Today, these companies are, all of us, right, from medtech companies, are just not expected to maintain equipment. We have been asked to guarantee uptime and in many cases, even clinical throughput, right? So what does the shift reflect? It reflects that this is all going towards what we know as value-based care and performance accountability. So, think of companies like GE Aviation, right? And there are a lot of lessons that we can draw from some of these other industries into medtech, where predictive maintenance and digital twins have transformed operational reliability, right? So, and there's a lot that we can borrow and learn from there.
No, that's so true, Rennie, and thank you for all these insights. now, there are these top three strands, and on top of that, add the pressure of talent gap, right? And as rightly, audience also, mentioned that there are many experienced service engineers, those who are retiring, and then attracting the digital savvy, tech savvy talent is not easy either, right? And especially in this competitive labor market. So what we have seen, clients like Siemens, especially their health nears, right? They have publicly shared how they have created these, flexible hybrid service roles to appeal to the younger talent. And speed of the change is just unprecedented, right? Whether it is sustainability expectations, whether it is geopolitical risks, or data democratization initiatives. So like everybody's talking about how we can democratize the data. We have like wealth and wealth of data, and sometimes more than needed also, right? To be made available. But how can every aspect of support we can bring together for making this service delivery seamless? So the ask now from the service leaders today is becoming more and more clear. And while it's becoming clear, it's also becoming challenging, right? They have to, service leaders have to simplify, they have to automate, they have to integrate, they have to elevate the customer and patient experience and safety also, and all at once. There is a lot that is being asked, and thankfully there are technologies now that are out there, and things are looking bright.
Yeah. And so we've spoken a lot about the trends, and I'll not drain this page a lot because some of it we've touched upon. But there are some key things right here. Over the past decade, especially after COVID, we've seen a fundamental shift in how technical support is delivered in medtech, right? And that's important as we go into the next part of our conversation. It's important to understand what that is. We spoke about moving from a corrective to predictive, and even a prescriptive sort of a model. We spoke a lot about that. The other part of this is that devices are now coming embedded with a lot of diagnostic intelligence, right? A lot of usage analytics, predictive maintenance capabilities. We know about the MRI machines from companies like Philip, how sophisticated these machines are now. Yep. The IT stack has also evolved. It's evolved from a hardware centric to a more digital first sort of an infrastructure, right? There's more cloud based ticketing, there is model diagnostics, there is AR assisted field repairs, and all of this is becoming a standard practice. Another big change is the service contracts itself, right? Service was once sold like insurance, flat fee, and then you have peace of mind. Right. Today, customers expect much more. They want to know how these service impacts outcomes, whether be it clinical outcomes, how they can drive cost savings, and what does it mean for patient satisfaction. That's why when we're using Gen AI, and to use Gen AI is no longer a nice to have. It's now mission critical for staying competitive and delivering outcomes.
Right. Let's look at this picture now. This is a typical technical services interaction model. It is complex. It is multi-layered. If, as you can see, it's very process oriented. And this guy, sitting in the middle, someone called technical support agent, right? So he's usually the person who is the first line of defense, right? Because something goes wrong. You are in a business of selling machines, equipments, and your customers are buying this. Sometimes they will go wrong, and they pick up the phone and call. Who they call this technical support agent, right? Or what we call TSA. So he acts as that first line of defense, but also an orchestrator or the linchpin between the customers, between your field service engineers or the internal teams, product teams, repair center teams, spare part teams. So he has to do a lot. Now, just by looking at this image, right, you can empathize with this technical support agent. While there are expectations from the customers who are expecting the faster solutions, there is also triaging and resolving the issues. coordinating the support across multiple teams, managing the escalations, ensuring end-to-end case ownership. This poor guy can really use some help, right? Just to be effective and productive, to serve the customers, right? And so that he can also be really proud of the work he or she is doing. And not just this technical support agent or the TSA, but the other roles as well, right? We see a lot of potential of these newer, advanced technologies like Gen AI, Agentic AI, to make this whole technical support process more integrated and seamless, right? Just take two examples here. Like one, as we're talking about data democratization, right? There are these technologies which are Gen AI based, that are to manage the knowledge, right? And I think in this picture, everyone is consuming knowledge. Everyone, whether it is customers, they can do self-service, whether it's application engineers for the application support, or whether it's the escalation teams, your L3 teams, your tier 3 teams, or your R&D teams for more complex cases, whether it's repair center engineers or field service engineers for on-site repairs. They are all consuming knowledge, right? And this knowledge is scattered everywhere. So how can we bring that together seamlessly, and democratize it, right? And now it's up to us. How can we make that easy and accessible? Similarly, if we also look from the process angle, right, not from the roles angle, there is this new shift of going agentic, right? It's a buzzword there, but we are seeing the real traction, right? And how these agents can work symbiotically with the humans, with human oversight, of course, and automate some of these processes. Just to name a few, you're automating your case generation or work order generation, your after call work documentation, your dispatch processes, your stock orders, your your product replenishments, just to name a few. Now think of it as a letting that AI handle the boring and routine stuff, while humans, they stay in the loop whenever there is some judgment or final checks are needed.
Yeah. So, wow, this is crazy. But what is the opportunity in front of us, right? So imagine a world where these support agents are equipped with superpowers, where regardless of their location, their experience, or their tenure, they can instantly tap into knowledge, right, for the entire organization. No more tribal knowledge, which are, and typically tribal knowledge is buried in inboxes, individual people's head. Eh, but going beyond that and making everything accessible through a natural conversation, that's the promise of Gen AI, right? So we're talking of something that acts as a real-time co-pilot and guiding agents step by step through troubleshooting, and of course all of this backed by documented procedure and insights. So, what does this do? So, it ensures consistent, high quality support where the issue comes in through a chat, via a chat, a phone, email, or it can be any geography or any time zone, right? What you get are standardized responses, and it reduces dependence on human variability big time, right? It also minimizes truck rolls and escalation, right? So as soon as you're able to resolve issues more remotely, the first call resolution rates also improve, right? And if you're able to resolve it on a call, fewer visits to the field, and reduce downtime and faster outcomes for patients and providers.
Absolutely, absolutely, Rene. And let's just look at from the technical support process angle. And I've just put it into the 5 steps over here. Oversimplified it a bit, for a reason. But I wanted to show it just from the technical support agent point of view, right? From where the journey starts and where it ends. And of course, there are a lot of offshoots. There is field service engineers, application engineers, R&D teams. Sometimes the depot repairs, the spare parts, inventory, supply chain. But if just we look at how the case arrives and how it is closed, we can summarize that into 5 steps, right? The first is, of course, machines and equipments are not working as they expected. Something went bad, and people picked up the phone, and they reached out. a case is logged. That's where the journey started. Then of course we have to triage that, right? The case, what's the issue and what's the urgency and whatnot. Third, then it goes into the troubleshooting pathways, right? So you start troubleshooting it, and it's not static, like these are 10 steps, go through it. It is dynamic. You have customer with you on the phone most of the times. They are telling you symptoms. They're telling you, this is what they're doing. It's not happening. It's working. It's not working. And then finally, either you are able to do it remotely, or there's escalation, right? And for that escalation, you would be going to the R&D or maybe your L3, T3, and sometimes dispatch to the field service engineer. And finally, once through whatever pathway that we took, right, you would be closing the case eventually. And then for that, you have to summarize. And even before closing the case, even if you're midway through, right, you have to summarize your work that you have done, right, through the documentation. Some is like more regulatory driven, and some, you just have to, just to pass on transition stuff, for the handoffs. You need to document those things. So now let's look at, one by one, each of the process. So let's say the customer or technical support agent here logs the issue. It sounds simple, right? But it's really not. Descriptions are often, they often lack clarity. So the customer saying it's not working can mean 10 different things. Or, there's this noise coming from the machine, or, the machine is heated up and, there's smoke coming from the, rear end of it or whatever. So they, they're often, the ramblings and the symptoms that they will present without knowing what the actual issue is. So, and they're on top of that, add the multiple intake channels, so you have these chats coming in, emails coming in, phone calls coming in, and how do you standardize all that? So what if there is a way, we can immediately interpret vague or inconsistent issue descriptions? What if we can detect some keywords, device types, locations, and start building right from the start, the intelligent support response? Next comes the triage. So triage is about categorizing the issue, assigning the urgency to it, trying to guess the root cause. And today, this process is at best manual, right? Based on the experience and gut feeling, and it varies from person to person. So which means it's going to introduce the delays and errors right from the start. So now what if we have a way to automatically analyze those symptoms, match them with the historical case data, and suggest maybe the categories, urgency, and root causes all in seconds? Moving on to now agents providing the troubleshooting. The challenge here, they are working with the static SOPs, your complex manuals, hundreds and hundreds of pages, and sometimes generic knowledge bases that aren't tailored to the specific type, the specific device or the scenario. So it's like, I used to, laugh about it. It's like trying to follow a GPS without a real-time traffic updates. Now, what if there is an AI or technology that can offer personalized dynamic troubleshooting guidance, and not the static decision trees, but adaptive flows, which are refined continuously based on the devices or the symptoms that the customers are presenting, and also this dialogue. Okay, do this step and it's working, and it's not working, and then we keep on telling, and based on your dynamic adaptive flows are coming right now. Okay, now if this is not working, probably this is not the area you should look at, and all the system would tell you, right? Finally, the escalation, right? So how can when things get complicated, right, and it will get complicated sometimes, not everything you'll be able to solve over the phone. So you are now hitting the escalation stage. So now decision here is to escalate, or sometimes dispatch the field service engineer, and that is often made with the limited data. So when the case is handed over to tier 3, often there is poor context transfer, which leads to frustration, rework, time loss, and all that. So what if we have a technology to recommend what to escalate, how to escalate, who to escalate, and all that based on the likelihood of the outcome that we are expecting. and the impact it can have on the device, on the customer, on the customer's patients, right? So while doing all that, also creating those structured handoff notes, right? How cool would that be? And then finally, the auto summarization. Um, Once the issue is resolved, or even if it is midway through, right? Not all summaries are created when the issue is closed, right? Um, the biggest challenge, unfortunately, that we are seeing here is that these notes documentation are all manual and they're highly inconsistent. Some summaries are too sparse, some are too long, and oftentimes critical insights are missed. Right. And especially if you're in the medtech industry and it's something we have to report from regulatory perspective, we cannot just miss that, right? So what if there is an AI that could auto document all of that, each step of your journey? It summarizes your problem. It summarizes the steps that you have taken. It summarizes what kind of documents that you have referenced, what kind of outcomes you have achieved here, and push all that summary directly to your workflow management system, right? Like ServiceMax. So wouldn't that reduce the after call work? Wouldn't that ensure documentation quality? And wouldn't that continuously enhance your knowledge base? Yes, of course, right? And Gen AI and all these advanced technologies that we're talking about today has the power to transform that and the entire technical services space. So now let's just look at the and while we talked about from the process angle and from the role angle, there are 4 or 5 things that we talked about, right? Let's just look out the accelerators that we have. Jenny is there. There is no debate. Jenny is going to work or not. It's not even a debate anymore. It is working. It is working wonders. So it's all about now how to use that and what are the different pieces in which GenAI is really good at and how to bring them together, right? So the first one is intelligent search and how it is different from traditional search. Traditional search requires what? Agents to know what exactly to look for and where to look for. And then they can do PDF searches and whatnot. But GenAI flips that model. Now agents can just describe their issue in their own words, a human natural language, and the system recognizes and understands the context. It searches across multiple documents, sometimes hundreds and sometimes thousands. I know one of the clients that I'm working with, they have close to 250 products and 5,000 and 600 kind of documents, PDFs, Word documents, Excel documents, your HTMLs and whatnot. So that's the power. So GenAI can look for all that information and provide you with that precise synthesized answer. It's not only going to save minutes per interaction, what we call it in average handle time. It's also going to eliminate the guesswork, right? The second is the smart troubleshooting. GenAI offers, of course, it guides agents or even the end users, like customers, if they want to do self-service, right? Through the complex troubleshooting flows based on the device type, symptoms being presented, historical resolution pathways. And it's not just offering that one answer, right? It's not like you asked a question, these are 10 steps, and you just go figure it out, right? No. It is adapting the sequence of steps dynamically, right? Much like any expert technician would do. Third is the next best action. I think this is very, really, really powerful, right? So when an agent is working on a case, GenAI can recommend what to do next. Whether it's about replacing a part, it's time to replace a part, which is your predictive maintenance. Whether you have to escalate it because however time you spend on the phone with the customer, you're not going to solve it, right? So based on that outcome probability, it's going to escalate. And what about performing a remote diagnostic? It's better than asking customer to do certain stuff if your machine is capable to connect remotely, so you can go ahead and do that. Or sometimes just dispatching, if your motor is blown, you cannot do much basically, so you just have to go and create a dispatch request. So all these next best actions could be data driven, right, and based on what have worked in the past similar cases, right? So the fourth is the summarizing past tickets and the resolutions. Instead of scrolling through dozens of tickets, and that's really powerful, right? If you see, right, we have this wealth of information. We have documents, of course. Then we have your workflow management system where your agents are working day and night on the cases with the customers, real scenarios, and they're putting their agent notes. They're putting what's working, what's not working, highlighting any insights that they got from it. So if you get that on your fingertips while you're working on a new case, wouldn't that be amazing, right? So this would help the redundant work, speeds up the resolution, Finally, the language translation, explanation, and simplification, widely used, widely accepted accelerator of Gen AI, right? So Gen AI can now translate the content into users' preferred language. If you are German and you are serving German customer, you want to talk and get the information in that language, you will get it. Doesn't matter if your knowledge base is in English, Spanish, or whatever language. You will get the response in the language that you want it to be, right? And also, it's gonna that what's it gonna enable really, right? It's gonna enable the teams who are working across the borders, or the teams that are working at different varying levels of expertise. So they will bring everybody on the same page. And while I was saying 1, 2, 3, 4, let's talk this, and this, right? It is not about that. These accelerators not standalone. They have to, and they are working together as a system to reduce friction, boost accuracy, and elevate the performance of every sport interaction. It's happening, guys, right now.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Um, but and this is all great and amazing. But let's talk a little bit about the outcomes, right? What are the outcomes all of this is driving? And when we think of outcomes in this space, there are three buckets, right? Number one, patient safety and experience, which is the most critical, right? For that's the utmost important thing. Number two is service support performance, right? And number three is agent productivity. So starting with patient safety and experience, um, we know how important this is. Increase in instrument uptime is the most important thing, right? We know that. We know how critical that is when it comes to quality of care. It has an impact on patient experience and satisfaction. So in this case, we've seen over a 10% increase in instrument uptime, right? This isn't just a number, but we kind of measure and look at this really closely, because any sort of delays means delays in diagnosis, delays in treatment, and like I said, has an impact on quality of care, and it has an impact on patient experience, right? So this is very critical, very important to look at, and this is one big value that these Gen AI solutions can drive. Right. Second one is service support performance. Right. Dispatch avoidance, right? That's a big metric for service, right? We are seeing almost a 15%, sometimes more than 15% improvement in dispatch avoidance, right? What does that mean? That means that fewer trucks are on the road and there's faster issue resolution, right? Cost to serve, another key metric here. That's gone down by about 25% in many cases, right? Because here what happened, many simple tickets are getting deflected or answered or taken care of by Gen AI. And it helps the agents resolve much more complex issues and resolve them more efficiently, actually. And the most striking is the average handle time, right? That's where we've seen a huge impact. Actually, more than 40%, right? That's huge when you scale it across thousands of calls and chats. Finally, on agent productivity, what does this do? And I love to link agent productivity to agent experience, which is a key thing as well. It's employee experience, right? Gen AI is helping agents move faster and smarter, right? And we are seeing more than a 25% boost in agent productivity, right? And after call, right? These agents after calls have to go through tedious documentation steps, right? And it's not very pretty work. It's not work they enjoy doing. So this frees up a lot of the agents' time so that they can handle more customer interactions. They can focus on higher value work, right? And onboarding of new agents. We know how hard that is, transition and enabling them with all of the tribal knowledge that is there. Now, with all of the documentation and the knowledge that is there, these new hires can tap into all of this so that they are effective and they are running much more quicker than before, right? So all of this makes it drives customer experience, it drives agent experience, it drives patient experience, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, no, thank you, Rennie, for bringing this home. Um, the success outcomes, whenever we have this conversation, people ask, how this going to bring value, right? And all of these, outcomes that you see, they're real, right? You can really measure them, the impact that it can create. So thank you, Rennie, for that. And before we go to our next slide, which is about art of the possible, and we want to talk about what we can really do with these technologies. Monty, I would request you to bring in our second poll question. Um, yeah, so guys, it's on your screen. We just want to know from you, and you are experts in your areas. You live this life. So, what are the areas in medtech technical services that you think is ripe for AI-led innovation? Is it product innovation? Is it multi-model support? Is it predictive maintenance? Is it self-learning knowledge system? So what do you think according to you? Nice. So multimodal support, very good. Predictive maintenance, self-serving. So the BRC are the clear winners here. Followed by okay, good, cool.
Yeah.
I think that's
And those are big areas, right? Right for innovation, and I think the poll rightly reflects that what we are seeing as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just closing the poll and moving on to our art of possible. So now just look at higher level, right? Not just focusing um, from a technical service support angle, right? Let's just look, and not just from the GenAI also, right? What are the different things that would be possible? Some are already in the works. Some are going to happen, and with the technology these days, nothing is far future now. Everything is either now or in the pretty soon. So if you look at that, how can Gen AI, Gentic AI, or these newer advanced technologies open the doors for us, right? The first one is the being proactive in the support, right, and providing that predictive insights. So we are not talking about preventative maintenance here. We are talking about predictive maintenance, right? And we are doing it for our customers, especially in the GE aviation, and we are now working with some of the turbine business as well, right? How can you predict something before it fails? With a decent amount of accuracy, right? So same concept here as well. So you want to predict rather than you want to do some rule based. After 6 months, change this part. After 6 months, do this cleaning. How can be more proactive? Because some parts might work more, and some parts would need sooner than later. So you don't want your machines to go back. So how can you combine the power of Gen AI, still that's your medium, right? Of interaction or having the conversation, but it is backed by and there are engines running behind this Gen AI. Looking at your device telemetry, your historical data, historical failures, your at present alerts and error reports coming in the machines. How can you combine all that and anticipate that something's going to go back, right? So how can you do the remote monitoring, which is AI led, right? Number one. Number two is I think going agentic, right? Because future lies in the symbiotic service model, right? Where human expertise is augmented by the intelligence agents, humans and machines working side to side, right? Side by side. So there are certain tasks like, and again, I talked about it in the previous slides. How about certain processes that are ripe to be automated? Things like case creation, after call documentation, your dispatch initiation, stock ordering, stock replenishment, right? All of these processes. How can you automate that through the agents with varying level of human oversight? And I am very cautiously using my words here, right? Human oversight is important. Maybe in the future there will be certain tasks, and there are certain tasks which are fully autonomous, right? But I think being the market that we are in, the regulated market that we are in for medtech, I think it is important that we have some degree of oversight. It would be more or less in some scenarios, but that is very important. So what it will do, it will free your human experts to, as Rennie was mentioning, they can now work on the exception handling, and they would have time to do that, and they can manage the escalations well, right? And they can actually focus on the decisions that impact your customers, that impact the machines that they have bought from you, and the patients that they are serving, right? Third is multilingual and multi-model support. And again, there is a lot on this, and I'm going to pick three or four top, that we are seeing, and then you would have this presentation with you, and you can read through it. Um, Multilingual is not even, I would say, art of the possible anymore. I just kept it here from different contexts. Multilingual is already here, being used, and the benefits are already, we are all seeing those benefits. Why I'm using multilingual is, we are seeing a trend of these virtual agents 24 by 7, and they are handling your simplest of the cases, right, where you don't need humans to answer that, but they being multilingual. If you're German, want to get the response in German, Spanish, Italian, French, you will get that from the virtual agents for the simple cases, simple resolutions. Multimodal really is where I think the things are going. Right now, we are all used to type in your prompts in text. But what about I can speak to it? What about I can load a video, or an image? Let's say my machine is not working, and then there's this error code. I just take a picture of it and then send it out, and I get the detailed troubleshooting steps for that. So I think that's where the future is going, and it's not like future; it's near future. The I think the fourth, according to me, the important one is the product enhancement recommendations. So you are going to identify the patterns across the tickets, your different cases, the historical resolutions, and you would be identifying the recurring issues, right? You would be identifying the gaps, the missing features, and then if we have the technology to translate them into actionable product feedback, so wouldn't that be amazing? Right? So I think that's where future is going to be. So the AI data-led product design and product enhancements. There are other things also on this slide, real-time context-aware guidance, automated post-interaction documentation. So documentation is already there. You're creating like how you make it seamless, pushing that directly into your workflow management system. So without a minimal oversight, right? Self-learning knowledge systems, shift left strategy. This we are seeing a lot. A lot of our companies that we work with, they are exposing these technologies to their customers through their customer portals, and they have started using it to varying degree, for the simple issues at hand, right, where they don't need someone on the phone, or they don't have to reach out to you to provide the resolution. So shift left strategy, right? So all of this is happening right now, and I'm really excited about the future that holds for the medtech, for the technical services space, aftermarket services space, and it is definitely bright. And so, Rennie, I would now request you to if you have to add anything, or
Yeah, yeah.
take it to closure. I think we are at the end of the
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
No, I think as we wrap this up, let's bring it back to why we are here, right? MedTech services, like we just spoke, is at an inflection point, right? It's facing rising complexity, there's mounting pressure on uptime, there are growing talent gaps, and there's so much increasing expectations from both providers and patients. What we've discussed today is that Gen AI isn't just a new tool, it's a catalyst for delivering faster, smarter, and more consistent support. It helps us move from being reactive, more reactive sort of a stance, to a more intelligent, outcome focused service that scales with demand and without compromising patient safety and compliance, right? So while it's empowering agents with instant, reliable answers and reducing field dispatches or enabling multilingual, multimodal support, the value is real, and it's measurable, like we kind of saw through this conversation. And it's not about replacing humans, it's about unlocking their potential. Gen AI thrives when it works with your team. Human in the loop is critical. So if you're wondering where to start, start small, solve one real problem, and build momentum from there, right? The future of tech support is human led, AI augmented, and deeply connected to the outcomes that matter most, which is patient safety, customer experience, and business growth. We really appreciate you spending time with us today. We hope this session will inspire new ideas and would love to take some questions.
Yeah, thank you, audience. And thank you, Rennie. Monty, I think we have one last poll question. Quickly, let's show that, and then we'll open the Q&A. Okay, guys. So what are the areas do you think GenAI can create maximum impact in medtech? Is it customer care? Is it technical support? Is it supply chain, sales, and commercial? I know we talked mostly about technical support and customer care in this meeting, but we want to get the pulse, from you all leaders. Wow, technical support is the clear winner. Sales and commercial, yes. Supply chain, customer care. Yep, I think all correct answers.
Yeah, all of these areas actually very ripe for creating impact.
Yeah. Okay. And I think it's ready for us also to,
Yes.
maybe plan for how we can create another session like this for sales and commercial and, the supply chain, and how can we bring these technologies, bring them, to our audiences, right? How we can. So
Yeah.
good. Thank you for the feedback here, audience.
Yeah. And I think, Harpreet, there's a question. Monty, I think you were.
Go ahead.
Yes. All right. So we do have a few questions here. I'm going to get into the first one now. First one states, having worked the last decade on reactive and predictive maintenance, I still do not see how Gen AI would enable you to analyze the installed base of, example, 10,000 complex systems that log MB of megabytes of data per day and system at reasonable cost. This would be predictive maintenance. But even looking at reactive maintenance for a single site, this is way more data that Gen AI can handle right now.
Yes. And you see, as the compute is getting better, and we are not saying GenAI as we are not saying it's like ChatGPT working on it, right? So it will be the agentic in the future, right? And there will be the computes behind it, right? So you will be take on as much data as you can, put them into perspective. If your machines are giving the alerts, error codes, that is continuously generated data, right? But then there is the wealth of data from the past resolutions. What happened in such kind of error codes, and when this error code combined with this alert, what happened, right? If you combine that historical context with the new context that your machines are continuously churning, right? You will be able to do that. GenAI just becomes the face of it. It becomes the conversation mechanism, right? So you can have the conversation, but behind they're going to hold a lot of power. So
yeah, if I can just add to that, Harpreet, we have data platforms and compute systems that can kind of process huge amounts of data right now, right? The GCPs of the world, the AWSs of the world, the Microsoft Azures of the world, all of this can process a huge amount of data from multiple systems and all of that. So that space has evolved so much, and happy to kind of discuss that as well, Ingmar, with you separately. But we are building these Gen AI use cases on these data platforms and cloud platforms, which can process huge amounts of data. So that's
yeah. But thank you also whoever asked this question. It's a really great question.
All right, moving on to our next question. How is Gen AI different from traditional automation or rule-based bots? Harpreet, could you take that one?
Oh, okay, sure. So the traditional automation, it relies on structured workflows and predefined logic. It's rigid, and often it is brittle, when faced with real-world complexity, right? So Gen AI, on the other hand, it can understand your language, it can understand your context, it can understand your intent. So it actually flips the model, and I think briefly I touched upon in the presentation as well. You are no more working static. You are dynamic right now, and then that is all happening in human language. It can synthesize your information into multiple, hundreds and thousands of technical manuals, past tickets, SOPs to give all those nuanced answers. This makes it ideal for complex troubleshooting or multilingual support, where these rule-based systems often fall short. So I think it's just the use case, and how the way you want to use the technology. In I think traditional is done.
Great. Well said. We have another question here. Can Gen AI handle regulated high-risk environments like medtech without violating compliance? Rennie, can you take this one?
Yeah, great question. And absolutely yes, but only if implemented correctly. Gen AI can be deployed in closed governed environments where data sources are curated and response generation is grounded in validated documents like manuals and SOPs. You can also apply content filters, audit trails, version control, and ensure compliance to all the regulations like FDA, MDR, ISO standards. But in all of this, again, human in the loop is critical because of how regulated medtech and the healthcare life sciences space is.
Fantastic. Great. We have another one here. How do we build trust with agents and field engineers to actually adopt Gen AI? Harpreet, what do you think?
Yeah, first of all, let me say it's a great question. Everybody asks this, right? Like, ultimately, any technology is successful once it's adopted, right? So great question. It's a bit of falling into that change management arena, and it's a change management challenge than a technical one, I would say. So the key here is to positioning Gen AI as not as a replacement, basically, but as an intelligent co-pilot. So how you position it, right? So when you're saying it's intelligent co-pilot, you have to make sure you are telling your users that it's going to help you resolve issues faster and reduce your cognitive load, and it will make you feel more confident, right? And you can focus on things that you were not able to because you were always pressed on time. And we have also we have also seen better adoption, when agents are involved in the development and testing early, right? Because a lot of these, when we do the Gen AIs, we want our users and the power users to come and test what this Gen AI is producing, right? So once they are involved, once they see the power of it, right? Because if you say that something is cooking up and then we'll give it to you, right? But if you start involving them right early on, and they can see the speed and accuracy of the results firsthand, I think they will come on board, and we have seen that happening, right? So you have to bring them along the journey, your users.
Fantastic. Really well said. We have a follow-up question. How do you foresee the problem of hallucination affecting the quality and accuracy of the service being provided? Given this regulated industry, the risk can be huge. I'll toss that up to the both of you.
Yeah, I can take it. And then again, we've seen a lot of that, right? I think the important thing, and I kind of call that out, human in the loop is important, right? Here, that's where the human in the loop comes, because validation of responses from these models are very, very important, right? The responses need to be validated. These responses need to be there's a feedback loop on that goes back into your model based on how you're looking at your responses as well. So human in the loop is critical. That is why these processes and these models cannot be run autonomous on their own, so that we can cap any sort of hallucination. So the key is human in the loop, and that's what we've figured out by building these and running these processes as well.
Yes, thank you. And I think it improves. That the good thing about AI, it improves over time, right? So once you start giving feedback, that feedback is taken by your product experts, and maybe sometimes it's just as simple as because the prompts are not done rightly, or maybe there are some white spaces in your knowledge base. The people are asking questions for which you don't have the knowledge base, right? This could be as simple as that. And so you now start supplementing your knowledge base, or maybe something became obsolete, and then you forgot to remove that from your knowledge base. So all of these things would happen. To start with, human in the loop would be maybe a little higher side. But as we go along, people mature the system, they know how to use the technology, a lot of these problems will go away.
Great, perfect. And we have time for 2 more questions. The first is, how do we get started on the Gen AI journey at an enterprise level? Rennie?
I kind of mentioned this in my closing comments, but I'll say it again. Start small, but with clear intent, right? Identify a use case or an area where you see a high impact, an area that has high friction, where you can see outcomes like maybe technical troubleshooting, agent onboarding, or some kind of knowledge search, right? And launch a pilot, right? So you can make it, you can put guardrails around it and launch a pilot. And in terms of teams, right? I think the composition of the teams that come together to build it is really critical. At the enterprise level, it's important to build a cross-functional team. You need service leaders, you need compliance teams, you need your IT teams, and of course, you need your change champions as well. And these teams have to come together, align on goals, guardrails, and success criterion. And like I said, starting with some sort of an assistive use case like knowledge agents or ticket summarization would be good ones, before we move to like more complex ones.
Wonderful. And we have a follow-up to the question from before, stating, even if there's a human in the loop, how to assign responsibility if Gen AI gives inaccurate info and human doesn't catch it or correct it. Agents who are scared of AI taking away their jobs may intentionally pass on inaccurate information if there's no consequence for them.
I think that's a great comment. I think, like I was saying, sometimes you have to put guardrails around it. Sometimes you have to kind of test it with a champion group of agents, where you can make this, where you know that these are the agents that will champion a cause like this. You have to deploy your models and test it with that champion group so they're able to use it. Then you tweak your models, you test it, you stabilize it before you open it out to a larger group. That's the way we've kind of done it, and that helps a lot with to the things that you're saying, that these agents may not be the these agents may make the wrong choices sometimes, but you have to choose agents who are able to kind of be your change champions to kind of stabilize the models, and then
And
that's been our best practice.
Absolutely. And just a little bit to add on, even technology can take care of some of this stuff, right? And something like confidence score, right? If your Gen AI model really thinks that, for the question being asked, for the context in which asked, and the knowledge base that is behind this, right? The system that is sitting, if the confidence level is low, we sometimes, rather than presenting answer which might be hallucinated or partially correct or incorrect, we can present with a response saying that, I'm not sure, or like Gen AI is saying that, I'm not sure of this response because I didn't get enough context, or maybe you want to ask a question a different way, or maybe I was not able to figure that out from. So it's not going to cook up the answer. It's going to find that from first of all, it's not going to the internet, right? It's going to be closed. It is closed RAG, right? Or similar models. So it is looking into your documents, into your knowledge base. And if it's not able to figure it out, it's going to tell you that I'm not able to figure it out. So maybe now it is up to you to figure out whether the response is already then. That's what Rennie was, right? Like, work with your champions first. Don't just release it to the entire organization, right?